Technological radiation. What is technological radiation? The environmental hazard we are examining in this presentation is technological radiation. This is a common form of electromagnetic radiation and falls under the range of radio frequency, which emits lower frequencies of radiation. Radio frequency includes telecommunication applications such as cell phones, televisions, and radio transmissions, as seen on this chart. This type of radiation has major effects on the biological development of children and adolescents, and scientists are further studying the long-term effects of tissue damage and alteration from this exposure. Exposure. In this context, we are examining technological radiation is an occupational exposure and is commonly emitted from multiple sources. The sources we will be looking at include cell phones, television, laptops, washers, and dryers. As most of these sources are used in day-to-day life activities and work, individuals are constantly exposed to technological radiation and radio frequency. Due to these increased levels of exposure to these sources, there is also an increased risk of being negatively impacted due to this type of radiation. Namely, the heating and warming of tissues that are exposed to the sources, such as talking on the cell phone, can directly affect your ears. Exposure assessment. The population we'll be focusing on are children and adolescents in North America. North America is very technologically advanced and people are reliant on various forms of technology on a daily basis. Children and adolescents may encounter and depend on technology due to higher cell phone, tablet, computer use from an early age, putting them at a higher risk of exposure due to radio frequency radiation. Children are more susceptible to negative health outcomes because their bodies are still developing. For instance, their tissues are constantly changing, whereas in adults, tissues are fully developed. Therefore, the heating of body tissues as a result of exposure to technological radiation can produce permanent negative health effects on children. It has been shown that majority of children begin using cellular devices in their first year of life and continue to use technology more and more in their childhood and adolescent years. Health outcomes. There are many health outcomes that are acute and chronic that are associated with exposure to radio frequency and can lead to various adverse health effects amongst children and adolescents. Some general health effects associated with acute exposure include skin redness, hair loss, radiation burns, and acute radiation syndrome. Although radio frequency does not deeply penetrate human tissues, it increases the risk of damage done to the skin and eyes. Our chosen health outcome that we will be examining is tissue alteration and damage. We chose this outcome because tissue exposed to these radio frequency and technological radiation absorb the energy emitted and convert these into heat, which result in damage that is exposed to the body tissues. This warming of tissues are most dangerous for the brain, eyes, stomach, liver, and genitals.